Lonely farmer saves a rejected alien bride. What follows changes humanity forever. Cole Mercer hated spaceports. The noise. The mixed smells. The rush of boots and claws and wheels. 6 years on Frontier Station 12, and he still felt like a rock in a fast river. He was here for one thing only. A crate of drought-proof grain that might save his farm. If the seed failed, the farm died. If the farm died, his last anchor in the universe went with it. He checked the manifest again. Numbers, barcodes, dock codes. His hands were rough and cracked from work. His shoulders ached from lifting parts in water drums. He kept moving, head down, until something made him stop. She stood by the passenger gate. Very still, like an island in a storm. Her skin was deep ocean blue. Her hair was white, tied back with thin silver strands that caught the harsh lights. Her eyes were a bright, wet violet. 2 heavy cases sat at her feet. Her clothes were simple and neat. Contract clothes. Agency clothes. Cole had seen people like her before. Domestic partners, the polite term said. Mail-order brides, the dock crew said when they wanted to be cruel. He had never seen one alone like this. Not for long. Not crying. Not trying to hide it, he told himself to keep walking. He did not. He changed course without thinking. He stopped a careful distance away. "You all right?" he asked. His voice came out rough like gravel. She blinked and wiped her face fast as if trying to erase the moment. "Yes," she said. Her English was clean, but the rhythm was new. "I am fine. I am waiting. How long?" 3 hours, she said. Her voice fell flat at the end. "Your sponsor?"
"He came," she said.
"He looked at me. He left." She paused. "He said I was not as advertised." Too large. Cole's jaw tightened. He looked at her again, not as a stranger, but as a person. She was tall and full-figured by human standards. Strong arms.
Steady stance.
She looked like someone who could carry 2 water pails all day and still laugh at dusk. "That's cruel," he said. She lifted one shoulder. The gesture looked very human. Agency said no refund, no return. "I have no ticket home." "What's your name?" Cole asked. "Lyra Naven," she said softly. "Of the Azurian Collective." "I'm Cole," he said. "Cole Mercer. I've got a farm about 30 kilometers from here." He hesitated. He did not plan to speak the next words. They walked out of him anyway. "I have a spare room. You can stay a few days. No strings. Until you decide what to do." Her eyes studied him. Not fearful, measuring. "Why?" she asked. "Because it's right," he said. "And because nobody should be left like this." She nodded once, as if accepting a fair trade she had already weighed. "I accept, Cole Mercer. I will not be a burden. Never said you would be." He lifted one of her cases. It was heavier than it looked. "Come on, we should beat dusk." They walked through the bright halls and out to the cargo lot. Curious eyes followed. A human farmer and a blue-skinned woman made an uncommon pair even here. Cole kept his eyes forward. He loaded the cases into the transport. Lyra sat beside him, hands folded back straight, looking out the window like a child trying to memorize a new world. The ride was quiet at first. The road cut through red grass that bent in the wind like waves. 2 pale moons climbed the sky. Lyra asked small, precise questions. "What crop is that? What bird makes that call? Why is the soil that color?" Cole found himself answering. He heard his own voice soften as he did. They topped a low ridge. His farm lay below, a prefab house with a wide porch, a few outbuildings, 20 hectares of hard-won fields scarred by last season's failure. It was not much. It was everything. "It is peaceful," Lyra said. "I like it." Cole let out a breath he had not known he was holding. "It isn't fancy," he said. "Peaceful is better than fancy," she said. He parked by the porch. He carried one case. She took the other without complaint. Inside, he showed her the small spare room, bed, shelf, window that faced the west field. Clean sheets. A folded quilt. She touched the quilt with careful fingers. "Thank you," she said. She meant it. "Kitchen's there," Cole said. "There's coffee in the morning. I'm up before dawn. I'll be out in the fields early." "I rise with first light," Lyra said. "I will not be in your way." Cole slept light that night. He woke to faint sounds. Cabinet doors, a kettle, a soft clink of plates. The house had been silent for years. The sounds felt strange and right at the same time. He walked into the kitchen. Lyra stood at the stove. Her hair caught the morning light and seemed to glow. She had cooked eggs that were purple at the edges and smelled sweet spicy. "I found eggs," she said. I added a small Azurian spice. "I hope this is fine," Cole tasted. It was different. It was good. "It's fine," he said. "More than fine." After breakfast, they walked the eastern rows. The air was cool and clean. The seedlings looked yellow at the tips. Wrong. Weak. Cole felt the old fear tug at his ribs. "The soil sensors have been odd," he said. "I can't see why." Lyra knelt. She touched a leaf with 2 fingers, gentle, sure. "These are sick," she said. "No panic, just fact. I thought so," Cole said. "But why?" "May I?" she asked, pointing to a plant. He nodded. She loosened the soil, lifted the seedling, and studied the roots. Her face grew still. "Parasitic pattern," she said. "But your world was sterilized for farming. This should not be here." They took samples to the small shed that held Cole's equipment. The lab was basic. Old scanner, cheap scope, worn bench. Lyra moved like she had lived in labs for years. Soon the screen showed a sharp, ugly shape. Cole did not know the name. He did not need to. The thing looked hungry. He felt the first cold drop of dread. He also felt something else because Lyra did not step back. She leaned in. She started to work. Her voice was calm. "We will need better equipment," she said. "But we can learn enough to act." Cole stood beside her. The farm might be in danger. The world might be too. But he was not alone at the bench. For the first time in a long time, that changed the shape of fear. It did not vanish. It narrowed. It became a line he could stand on. Outside, the wind pushed the red grass. Inside, the screen glowed. In that glow, a small alliance began. The morning light on Frontier 12 was cold and silver. The kind of light that made every crack in the land visible. Cole and Lyra stood beside the field, watching the yellowing stalks bend under a lazy wind. The plants were supposed to be drought-proof hybrids, human-engineered perfection. Yet they looked sick, pale, and dying from the roots up. Lyra crouched, her blue fingers brushing the soil. "This ground," she said softly, "it breathes wrong." Cole frowned. "Breathes?" She nodded, her eyes scanning the rows like a scientist and a poet at once. "The soil gives and takes life. I can feel it. Something unnatural is feeding here." Her words sounded strange to Cole, but something in her tone made him believe her. The way she touched the earth, careful, respectful, almost reverent, felt more human than anything he'd seen in a long time. They took samples back to the shed. Cole's small lab smelled of metal and old dust. Lyra moved like she'd done this before, setting up instruments, calibrating sensors, tapping commands with light fingers that left faint blueprints on the console. Cole watched her, curious. "You worked in labs?" "Once," she said, eyes fixed on the screen. "Before I left Azuria." He wanted to ask more, but the scanner beeped. A pattern appeared, threads of something alive twisting through the sample. The roots were full of microscopic filaments, moving, feeding. Cole leaned closer. "That's not natural fungus." "No," she said, voice tightening. "It's made. Look at the lattice, too uniform. This was designed by who? Someone who wanted this crop to fail." The silence that followed was heavier than the red soil outside. Cole's chest tightened. If the infection spread, his farm would die. But the look on Lyra's face said it wasn't just his farm. "This could spread across the frontier," she murmured. "Every colony using these seeds." Cole straightened, jaw clenched. "The supplier, Galaxis Agri. They're the only ones shipping this hybrid grain." Lyra turned toward him. "You think they knew?" He didn't answer. He didn't need to. That night the stars came out sharp and cold. Lyra sat on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, watching the twin moons rise. Cole joined her, handing her a cup of coffee. Steam curled in the wind. "You could leave, you know," he said quietly. "Find a ship. Go home." She smiled without looking at him. "Home is a place that must want you back." "Azuria does not," he said nothing. The night hummed with insects and old grief. "Why are you here, Cole Mercer?" she asked finally. He stared at the horizon. "Because it's far from Earth," he said, "and from the things I lost there." "The woman?" He nodded once. "Sarah," Lyra studied him. "You still wear her ring." He looked down at his hand. The pale mark where the ring used to be was still there. "Some things don't fade," he said. They sat in silence for a while, two strangers bound by the ache of what used to be. The next morning, the communication console beeped. A voice crackled through. Ellis, a technician from the colony's agricultural center. His tone was grim. Cole, I got your sample data. That parasite, it's not native. It's engineered. Modified from an old Terran pathogen. Someone's been tampering with seed genomes. Cole's stomach dropped. You're saying this was done on purpose? Looks that way. And get this, other farms are reporting the same thing. All Galaxis seed shipments. Someone's playing God with our food supply. Lyra stood behind him, eyes fixed on the monitor. Then it's not just infection, she said softly. It's sabotage. The line crackled again. Keep it quiet, Cole. If Galaxis catches wind that you know, they'll send cleanup. Burn the field. Destroy the evidence. Stay low until we have proof. The message cut off. Cole looked at Lyra. Her violet eyes reflected the flickering screen light. You heard him, he said. We're sitting on poison and a secret worth killing for. Lyra didn't flinch. Then we do what humans always do, she said. We fight to survive. Later, as night deepened, a low rumble rolled across the plains. Not thunder, engines. Cole grabbed his rifle and checked the sensors. A vehicle was approaching, fast, lights off. He met Lyra's gaze. They found us. She stood calm as moonlight. Then we move. Together they slipped out the back door into the whispering red grass. The hum of engines grew louder, closer. Cole could see the glow of headlights breaking the darkness. For a heartbeat, the world went silent except for their breathing. Then the first shot split the air. Energy bolts burned into the porch, turning wood to ash. Cole fired back once, twice. Run, he shouted. Lyra didn't argue. They sprinted across the open field, their shadows long and wild under the twin moons. Behind them, the farmhouse burned like a beacon. And as the flames rose, Cole understood the truth. This wasn't a bad harvest anymore. This was war. The fire ate through Cole's farmhouse before dawn. By the time the twin suns rose over Frontier 12, the house was nothing but smoke, black streaks across red sky. Cole stood at the edge of the field, rifle in hand, jaw locked tight. Lyra stood beside him, her blue skin shimmering faintly in the ash-filled light. Neither spoke. Everything he owned was gone. The tools, the records, even the soil samples they'd studied. Whoever came in the night wanted to erase more than evidence. They wanted to erase him. Cole's communicator crackled. Mercer, you there? It's Tom Cooper. We saw the fire from Coopertown. You alive? Barely, Cole replied. They torched my place. Tom's voice hardened. Then you'd better get here fast. You're not the only one. A few farms got hit. Bring the girl if she's with you. I'll send a transport. Lyra met his eyes. We cannot go back to the port, she said. They will expect that. No, Cole said, looking toward the horizon. We'll go to Coopertown. Tom's an old soldier. He knows how to handle trouble. The ride through the frontier plains was long and tense. The land looked wounded, patches of dead crops stretching like scars between the ridges. The smell of burnt soil hung heavy in the air. When they reached Coopertown, the settlement was on high alert. Farmers stood guard with pulse rifles. Drones circled overhead. Tom Cooper, a thick-chested man with gray in his beard, met them at the gate. Good to see you breathing, he said to Cole, gripping his shoulder. His eyes flicked to Lyra. This the Azurian you mentioned? Cole nodded. She found the parasite first. Tom's wife Maya handed Lyra a cup of water. You're welcome here, she said kindly. Most folks don't stay calm when their food starts dying. Inside the community hall, they gathered around a cracked table covered with field maps and soil reports. Ellis, the agri-tech who'd called earlier, was there too. His face was pale, his hands shaking slightly as he spoke. I did more digging after I sent you that message, he said. The data files from Galaxis Agri weren't protected. I found shipment logs and lab notes. They weren't making fertilizer. They were testing a weapon. Lyra leaned forward. Weapon? Ellis nodded grimly. A biological one. Engineered to infect Terran-based crops. Wheat, maize, barley, anything designed for human digestion. They call it Project Hollow Root. It's supposed to collapse human colonies by starvation, slowly, quietly. Murmurs filled the room. Someone cursed under their breath. Tom slammed his fist on the table. Why the hell would the colonial authority allow that? They wouldn't, Ellis said. Unless someone inside is helping, Cole frowned. Who? Ellis hesitated, then lowered his voice. A Vexian officer named Captain Thax. He's been overseeing agricultural protection across this sector. Every world with these seeds had to go through him. Lyra's eyes darkened. I know the name. The Vexians despise human colonization. They call it contamination. Cole clenched his fists. So that's what this is. Not profit, not sabotage, extermination by hunger. For a long moment the room was silent. Then Tom spoke again, voice steady. If we're going to survive, we need proof. Real proof. And we need a cure. Lyra straightened, her expression firm. I can build one. A soil treatment that neutralizes the pathogen. But I'll need a stabilizing element, hexavalent rhodium. Where do we find that? Cole asked. In the northern ridge, she replied. The rocks there glow faintly at night. That glow means rhodium, but she hesitated. That's scavenger territory, Tom swore under his breath. The scavengers were native creatures on a fast, six-limbed and clever. You'll need a tracker, he said. Davis knows that ridge better than anyone. He'll take you. Lyra looked at Cole. You trust him? With my life, Cole said. He saved it once before, Tom nodded. Then go at first light. I'll keep the settlement locked down. And Cole? He paused, his voice lowering. If you find something bigger than a cure, something that proves who's behind this, and don't bring it back here. Send it off-world. That night the settlement lights dimmed early to avoid attention. Cole sat outside the small cabin Tom had given them, cleaning his rifle. The air smelled of dust and engine oil. Lyra sat nearby, scanning through holographic data on a small tablet she had salvaged. You really think we can stop this? He asked quietly. She looked up. On Azuria, we faced something similar. A parasite released during the border wars. We stopped it. Not by power, but by precision. The right mind, the right hands. She held his gaze. You have both. Cole shook his head, a faint smile tugging at his lips. I just grow food. Lyra's voice softened. Then grow hope, Cole Mercer. That is rarer than food. They sat together in the quiet frontier dark, twin moons hanging above like patient watchers. Somewhere beyond the hills, corporate soldiers and alien conspirators plotted extinction. But here, on this small patch of dirt, a human farmer and a blue-skinned outcast planned to fight back. In the silence between them, the first ember of something powerful flickered. Not romance yet, not survival alone, but the stubborn defiance that had carried humanity through every dark century before. Tomorrow they would enter the ridge. Tomorrow the hunt for truth would begin. The wind changed before sunrise. It came down from the mountains sharp and dry, carrying a smell like rust and rain that never fell. Cole took it as a warning. The ridge ahead wasn't just another hill. It was the border between what men built and what nature still owned. He tightened the straps on his pack. Lyra stood beside him, pulling her hair into a low braid, a small plasma scanner clipped to her belt. The faint pre-dawn glow made her skin look like polished glass. Tom Cooper arrived with a fourth figure, Davis, the settlement's best tracker. Broad shoulders, quiet eyes, the kind of man who spoke only when words were worth the air. Ridge is alive this time of year, Davis said, checking the charge on his sidearm. Scavengers move in packs now. You hear them before you see them. Don't run. They chase what runs, Cole nodded. We'll keep quiet. Quiet won't save you, Davis muttered. Luck might. They left before first light. The terrain shifted fast. Red grass gave way to gravel, then to jagged rock that glittered faintly under the twin moons. The ridge rose ahead like the spine of a buried beast. As they climbed, Lyra's scanner pulsed a soft blue. Trace rhodium, she said. We are close. Cole looked around. You sure this is the right place? Positive, she said. The mineral deposits here react to magnetic fields. You can almost feel them under your feet. Davis grunted. I feel something, all right. Like we're being watched. They pressed on. The path narrowed into a ledge that hugged the cliffside. Far below, a canyon river shimmered like liquid metal. The air buzzed with static. Cole's skin prickled. He glanced at Lyra. She looked calm, but her eyes were scanning the shadows constantly. Tell me about your world, he said quietly, to fill the silence. Azuria? She asked. It floats. The cities are suspended over oceans of light. Our people value harmony, but not difference. I was not standard. She smiled without warmth. Azurians engineer beauty. They do not welcome what they cannot control. I was too round, too curious. I asked why we changed nature instead of learning from it. Cole's boots scraped rock. Guess that made you dangerous. It made me disposable, she said simply. He wanted to say something, but Davis stopped suddenly, raising his hand. Movement. The three of them froze. A low clicking echoed through the rocks, soft, rhythmic, like bones tapping stone. Then another sound. Breath that hissed, Lyra whispered. Scavengers. Out of the fog between boulders, shapes began to move. Thin and fast, six-limbed, spined along the back, skin like translucent glass stretched over muscle. They moved like predators that had learned silence. Davis held up a signal knife. One flash, then darkness. Don't move. The creatures slithered closer, sniffing the air. Cole could see the reflection of his own face in their faceted eyes. His pulse pounded so loud he was sure they could hear it. For 10 endless seconds, nothing happened. Then one scavenger let out a shriek that split the air. The others exploded into motion. Run! Davis barked. Cole fired once, the pulse rifle lighting the ridge in blue-white bursts. The nearest scavenger dropped, twitching. 2 more came over the rocks. Lyra hurled a flash detonator. Light so bright it burned through the fog. The creatures reeled back, blinded. Down the slope! Davis shouted. There's a crevice ahead, and we can lose them. They slid down a steep incline of loose shale, half running, half falling, until they hit flat ground in a shallow ravine. The scavengers didn't follow. Their cries echoed above, then faded into the wind. Cole leaned against the rocks, panting. That was close. Too close, Davis said. He glanced at Lyra. You fight better than you look, Azurian. She smiled faintly. On my world, agriculture was a dangerous profession. They all laughed. The sound sharp in the cold air, a moment of relief before the next wave of danger. As the suns rose higher, they found the glowing mineral vein. It ran like a silver scar across the canyon wall, humming faintly. Lyra knelt beside it, taking readings. This is it. Hexavalent rhodium pure. Cole crouched next to her. How much do you need? 3 cores, she said. Enough to stabilize the cure. He helped her drill the samples. The stone vibrated under their tools, sending small tremors through the ground. When she finished, she sealed the glowing fragments in metal vials and stood. We have it. Davis looked toward the sky. Then let's get out before the ridge wakes up again. But before they could move, a shadow passed overhead. A deep hum rolled through the canyon. Lyra looked up. Aircraft, she said. Authority class, Cole cursed. They found us. A sleek gunship descended through the haze, its engines scattering dust and debris. Over the roar, a voice boomed through loudspeakers, cold, mechanical, and all too familiar. This is Captain Thax of the Colonial Agricultural Division. You are in restricted territory. Surrender immediately. Lyra's eyes went wide. Thax. Cole raised his rifle. How in hell did they find us? Someone tracked the scanner's signal, she said. We have to move now. Davis pointed toward a narrow crack in the canyon wall. There's a tunnel system ahead. It leads to an underground river. If we can reach it, we might lose them. Pulse fire rained down. Rocks shattered around them. Cole grabbed Lyra's arm. Run! They sprinted toward the fissure as the gunship's cannons tore up the ridge behind them. Lyra dropped a small device, a mining charge, and then hit the detonator. The explosion split the ground open, revealing a dark shaft below. Jump! She shouted. Cole hesitated only a moment, then took her hand and leapt into the unknown. Cold water swallowed them. The current grabbed and spun them through darkness. They tumbled, gasped, collided with rock, then broke the surface inside a vast underground cavern. For a moment, neither spoke. The only sound was rushing water and the distant thunder of collapse above them. Lyra looked at him, hair plastered to her face, eyes glowing faintly violet in the dark. We survived. Cole managed a shaky grin. We're getting good at that. She smiled, tired, real, defiant. That is why humans are feared, Cole Mercer. Not because you are strong, but because you never stop trying. Cole looked toward the faint light ahead, a tunnel leading back to the open plains. He reached out and she took his hand. Then let's go try some more, he said. And together they walked toward the light, leaving the ridge and the fire that hunted them behind. The escape through the underground river had left Cole and Lyra soaked, bruised, and cold, but alive. The dawn outside the tunnel mouth was pale and dust gray. They climbed out, coughing up water, shivering against the dry wind. We made it, Cole said, breathless. Not yet, Lyra replied, scanning the horizon. They'll track the ship's signal. They'll come for the settlement next. And she was right. By the time they reached Coopertown, the sky above the valley was filled with the low hum of authority shuttles. Silver hulls gleamed in the morning light. The settlement gates were sealed. The air smelled like ozone and fear. Tom Cooper met them at the edge of the ridge, face grim. "You took too long," he said. "They locked us down an hour ago. Thax's people say it's for containment." Cole glanced past him. Armed guards in dark armor patrolled the streets. The settlers were gathered in the commons under watch. Children clung to their parents. Drones floated overhead. "Containment," Cole muttered. "That's what they call a cage." "They're asking for all lab data," Tom continued. "Said they'll sanitize any contaminated material." Lyra stiffened. "Sanitize means destroy. They'll erase the research before it reaches the higher council." Cole's jaw tightened. "Then we hide what matters." They slipped through an old maintenance tunnel beneath the granary, one of the few passages not yet scanned. Lyra's soaked pack clinked with metal as she opened it, revealing 3 glowing vials of hexavalent rhodium. The light painted her skin in faint blue fire. "This is enough to synthesize the cure," she said. "But I'll need the lab equipment and time." Tom frowned. "They've sealed off the lab building," Cole smirked. "Then we unseal it." That night, while the guards rotated shifts, the settlers began to whisper. Fear had turned to anger. Families who'd lost everything were done being quiet. Cole and Lyra moved among them, low voices and quick glances. Plans began to form. Inside the shadows of the old storage barn, Cole spread out a rough schematic of the settlement. "We trigger a distraction at the main square," he said. "Fire alarm, maybe a power surge. Enough to pull their patrols away. While they're busy, Lyra gets to the lab." Maya, Tom's wife, crossed her arms. "And what about Thax?" "He's not a fool." "Then we make him think we are," Lyra said. Her voice was calm but sharp, like a blade wrapped in silk. "He expects chaos. We'll give him order disguised as chaos." Cole looked at her with something like admiration. "You're not just a scientist, are you?" She smiled faintly. On Azuria, defense meant more than walls. Sometimes it meant deception. By midnight, the plan was in motion. The first alarm blared across the settlement, a wailing metallic shriek that echoed off every wall. Lights flickered, drones spun wildly, and a power relay exploded in a burst of sparks. Guards shouted. Civilians scattered. In the confusion, Cole and Lyra moved fast through the back alleys, sticking to the shadows. At the corner of the main street, a patrol passed within arm's reach. Cole held his breath, rifle raised. Lyra reached out, touching his arm gently. "Wait!" The guards turned away. She'd timed it perfectly. They reached the lab door. A security seal glowed red across the panel. Lyra knelt, produced a small handheld tool, and bypassed the circuit in seconds. The lock hissed open. Inside, the air was still and cold. The lab had been stripped of data drives, but the equipment remained. Lyra immediately set to work, her movements precise and focused. "This will take 30 minutes, she said. Cole nodded. "You'll have it." He took up position by the window, watching the chaos outside. The settlers were fighting now, throwing stones, grabbing tools, pushing back against the soldiers. Humanity at its rawest, cornered, furious, unbreakable. Lyra worked in silence, the hum of her machinery almost like a heartbeat. The glowing rhodium reacted with her compound, creating a blue mist inside a glass chamber. The scent of ozone filled the room. Then a shout broke the moment. Boots, heavy, coming their way. Cole raised his rifle. "We're out of time." "2 more minutes," she said without looking up. "Lyra, 2 minutes." The door burst open. 2 soldiers charged in. Cole fired, quick and controlled, dropping them before they could return fire. Smoke filled the air. Lyra didn't flinch. The machine beeped 3 times and went still. "It's done," she said, lifting the vial. The liquid inside shimmered like molten stars. "The cure," Cole grinned. "Then let's deliver it." They slipped out through the back corridor, emerging near the communication tower. Ellis, pale but determined, waited there. "I rerouted the broadcast channel," he said. "If we can send the data now, it'll hit every authority relay in the sector." Cole nodded. "Do it." Lyra handed him the vial. Proof of what they tried to destroy. As Ellis activated the transmission, the screen lit up with lines of data, flashing faster and faster. The signal jumped from tower to satellite, spreading like wildfire through the network. Then the door behind them exploded. Captain Thax stepped through, flanked by armored guards. His spines flared in fury. "You humans never learn," he hissed. "Always fighting a war you cannot win." Cole raised his rifle. "Then we'll just have to keep fighting until we do." Thax sneered. "Your resistance ends here." A shot rang out, not from Cole but from behind Thax. Tom Cooper stood in the doorway, his own weapon smoking. "Funny," Tom said. I was about to say the same thing. The guards turned. The settlers flooded in behind him, shouting, armed with whatever they could find. Pitchforks, welding tools, pulse rifles taken from fallen soldiers. In seconds, the room erupted into chaos. Smoke, shouts, the sound of freedom clawing its way through steel. Cole pulled Lyra toward the exit. "We've got to go!" As they ran into the open, the communication tower blazed with light. The message had gone through. Across the sector, every authority channel now carried the truth. Galaxis Agri, Captain Thax, the engineered plague, exposed. Lyra turned back, eyes wide with wonder. "You did it," she said. "No," Cole answered. "We did." Behind them, the settlers' uprising roared like a storm breaking over the desert. The night sky burned with fire and rebellion. Humanity cornered again, but still standing, still refusing to bow. Smoke curled above Coopertown like a storm made of ash. The uprising had spread through the whole settlement. Settlers fought with tools, rifles, and raw fury, driving back the black-armored soldiers who had once looked untouchable. The sound of battle, pulse fire, shouts, metal slamming against metal, filled the valley. Cole and Lyra moved through the chaos like twin shadows, dodging between the burning supply shacks and overturned transports. Sparks rained from the towers where the authority banners still fluttered, scorched but standing. "Ellis sent the broadcast," Cole shouted over the noise. "Every outpost in the sector has the data now." Lyra ducked behind a fallen beam, clutching the vial of glowing blue serum. "Then the truth is out, but we still need proof it works." Cole looked at the smoke-filled horizon. "Then we test it. Right here." They reached the lab, now half destroyed. Tables were overturned, screens cracked, glass everywhere. Cole helped Lyra set up what little equipment remained. An old centrifuge, a microscope still flickering. The floor trembled as explosions echoed outside. Lyra drew a sample of infected soil from the container Ellis had smuggled earlier. She placed a drop of the cure onto the dark mixture. Both of them leaned close. Under the scope, the parasite writhed, tiny strands twisting, breaking apart, dissolving into nothing. The blue chemical spread through the contamination like sunlight through fog. Lyra's voice trembled with relief. "It's working," Cole exhaled. "You did it." She looked up at him, a fierce light in her violet eyes. "We did it. Now we just need to live long enough for the rest of the galaxy to see it." A loud crash shook the building. The door burst open. Captain Thax stood framed in the smoke, his armor cracked, one shoulder scorched from battle. Behind him, two surviving guards aimed pulse rifles. "Enough," Thax roared, voice low and guttural. "You think you can expose the authority? You're nothing but farmers and traders." Cole stepped in front of Lyra. "Farmers who grow food, not fear," the Vexian captain sneered, barbed teeth flashing. "Human arrogance never dies. You destroy everything you touch." Cole kept his rifle leveled. "Funny. I could say the same about you." Before Thax could answer, a voice shouted from outside, "Captain, the settlers have surrounded the compound." Thax's eyes narrowed. "Then we burn everything before they reach it." He lunged forward. Cole fired. The blast hit Thax's armor, throwing him back, but the alien's strength was monstrous. He rose again, bleeding from his jaw, fury twisting his face. Lyra grabbed a small canister from the counter, the leftover pathogen sample. "You want destruction?" she said coldly. "Then look at your own." She hurled it at his feet. The glass shattered, spilling the infected soil that hissed as it met the ground. Thax stumbled back, instinctively fearful. Cole didn't hesitate, one more shot to the chest, straight through the crack in his armor. The Vexian fell hard. His breathing came out in ragged gurgles. "You humans," he rasped. "You always survive." Cole lowered his rifle. "That's the idea." Thax's eyes glazed over. His body went still. The sound of fighting outside grew distant, replaced by the sharp crackle of fire and the cheers of victory. Minutes later, Ellis ran in, panting. "Authority reinforcements just arrived from the real command. They received our signal. They've put Thax's name on the broadcast." Cole stared at Thax's body. "Then it's over." Lyra wiped dust from her face, her blue skin streaked with gray. No, she said softly. It's only beginning. The cure will travel faster than their lies, but there will be others like him. Then we'll be ready. Outside, the reinforcements landed, ships bearing the insignia of the true colonial authority. Soldiers in silver uniforms spread through the settlement, taking custody of the surviving mercenaries. The lead officer, a human admiral with a hard-lined face, approached Cole. Mr. Mercer, Miss Naven. Your transmission reached every network in the sector. You just saved more worlds than you can count. Cole gave a tired half-smile. We just wanted to save one farm. The Admiral's expression softened. Sometimes that's how revolutions start. When night finally fell, the settlement was quiet again. The sky was full of stars no longer hidden by smoke. People gathered around fires tending to the wounded, laughing through their exhaustion. Cole stood at the edge of the commons watching the flames flicker. Lyra joined him, her hair catching the orange light like silver fire. You look tired, she said. Feels like I've aged 10 years in 2 days, Cole replied with a grin. You've aged well, she said, teasing softly. He chuckled. You're terrible at lying. Maybe, she said. But not about that. For a long moment, neither spoke. Around them, humanity was rebuilding already. Patching roofs, cleaning debris, planting hope in ashes. The sound was not silence. It was the hum of survival. Cole looked at Lyra. What will you do now? Go back to Azuria. She shook her head. No, my world was perfect but empty. This world is broken but alive. I'd rather build something that breathes. He nodded slowly. Then build it here, with me. Her eyes glimmered. Is that an invitation, Cole Mercer? It's a promise, he said. She smiled, the kind of smile that could rewrite a man's life. Then I accept. At dawn, the settlers gathered in the open fields. Cole poured the blue serum into a sprayer, mixing it with the soil water. Lyra watched as the first droplets touched the ground. The earth shimmered faintly. Within minutes, the dull yellow plants began to brighten, leaves turning green again, roots pulsing with new life. The crowd gasped, then cheered. Lyra's hand found Cole's. It works, she whispered. He squeezed her hand gently. Told you we'd fix it, she smiled. You didn't fix it. You fought for it. The twin suns rose higher, washing the valley in light. Around them, the once dying fields of Frontier 12 began to breathe again. The war for survival was not won in boardrooms or battleships. It was won here, in the dirt, in the hands of a human farmer and an alien scientist who refused to give up. And somewhere in that rising light, the story of humanity wrote another line in the stars. They fought. They endured. And they made the impossible grow again. The next morning dawned bright and gold. The storm had passed. Smoke no longer filled the sky. Instead, rays of sunlight cut through the mist, painting the valley in soft light. The land looked scarred but alive, like a fighter catching his breath after a brutal match. Cole stood on the rebuilt porch of his farmhouse, or what was left of it. A few metal beams, new panels, the scent of freshly turned earth. The house was being repaired by hands that once held rifles and wrenches. Men, women, and children moved about, laughing despite exhaustion. Humanity once again rebuilding from ashes. Lyra stepped out beside him, holding a mug of steaming synth coffee. Her blue skin glowed faintly under the twin suns. It's strange, she said softly. The world feels different now, like it's breathing again. Cole nodded. That's because it is. He gestured toward the fields beyond the fence. New sprouts dotted the land, thin green shoots shimmering under the morning light. The soil treatment she had created was working faster than anyone expected. The infection's gone, he continued. You saved every colony that used Galaxis grain. Lyra smiled gently. We saved them. You forget, human, that I was the one who was supposed to be disposable. Cole chuckled. Remind me to never underestimate someone with glowing hair and explosives in her backpack. She raised an eyebrow. I will consider it your daily reminder. Later that day, the settlement gathered in the open commons. The people of Coopertown, and survivors from neighboring farms, stood shoulder to shoulder. The once scattered settlers had become a single breathing unit of defiance and pride. Admiral Rowan, the human officer who'd led the true reinforcements, stood on a makeshift stage. His voice carried through the air like steady thunder. You've done something the core worlds will never forget, he said. You proved that unity doesn't need approval from high command. It begins here, in the dirt, in the work, in the courage of ordinary hands. Cole felt Lyra's fingers slip into his, warm and sure. Rowan's gaze swept over the crowd. Galaxis Agri has been dismantled. Captain Thax's crimes will stand trial before the Council. But this victory is yours. Frontier 12 will serve as the model for every struggling colony from here to Orion's edge. The settlers cheered. Not wild celebration, but the deep, grounded kind of joy that grows from pain survived. That evening, Cole and Lyra returned to the fields. The twin moons hung low, reflecting in the irrigation pools like silver eyes watching their rebirth. I was offered a post, Lyra said quietly. The authority wants me to lead agricultural defense research for the entire sector. Cole's chest tightened. That's good news. It would be, she said, looking up at the stars. But I declined. He turned to her, surprised. You what? Lyra smiled faintly. There is already work worth doing here. A world to heal. A man to irritate. A future to grow. Cole couldn't help but laugh. Irritate, huh? Guess I'll need to hire new help to keep up. She stepped closer, her violet eyes glowing softly. Or, she said, you could marry the one you already have. The words hit him harder than any battle. For a second, the world seemed to stop spinning. He swallowed. You're serious? Very, she said. On Azuria, bonds are formed through shared survival. You stood with me when the universe tried to erase me. That means something in any language. Cole reached for her hand. Then let's make it mean everything. Their lips met, slow, certain, the kind of kiss that carries a lifetime's worth of yes. Around them, the night hummed with quiet life. Wind in the grass, the faint buzz of generators, laughter from the settlement beyond. Weeks passed. The farm thrived again. Fields once pale and brittle now swayed with thick golden grain. Drones buzzed overhead tending to irrigation lines. Children chased each other between rows of growing crops. Humanity was winning, not through conquest but through cultivation. Cole and Lyra worked side by side each day, partners in every sense. She taught him about Azurian soil resonance. He taught her about stubborn Terran weather. Their worlds blended, science and sweat, logic and instinct, until the line between them disappeared. One afternoon, as Cole was checking a soil meter, he noticed Lyra kneeling nearby, her hand resting gently on her abdomen. A soft smile curved her lips. He froze. Lyra. She looked up, her eyes full of that quiet light he'd come to love. Life, she said simply. A new seed has taken root. He didn't need her to explain. The realization hit him like sunrise. Their child, the first human Azurian growing beneath the same twin suns that had once shone on destruction. Cole knelt beside her, placing his rough hand over hers. Then we build for them now, he said. For every life that comes after. Lyra nodded. For every world that learns to grow again. As the suns dipped low, casting long golden shadows across the fields, the two of them stood together on the ridge. Below, the valley pulsed with light from hundreds of small homes, each a spark of defiance against the void. Cole wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Think they'll ever stop trying to break us? Lyra rested her head against him. Let them try, she whispered. We are human now together, and humans never stop planting. Above them, the stars burned like seeds scattered across an endless dark sky, each one a promise that no matter how many times the universe tried to end humanity, they would rise again, rebuild again, love again, because that's what humans did. They grew,